more than 90% communist agents are blackmailed. These people are not ideological supporters, but they are brutally blackmailed.
Was this what you looked for when you were in the Czech intelligence?
Yeah,
the ability to blackmail people?
That's right, yeah.
Like that you were forcibly trapped. And we know the way that you were trapped, it was a homosexual entrapment, that you were entrapped, in which the Czechs got you. This is correct, right?
This man was blackmailed while on embassy duty in Prague, Czechoslovakia. As an Air Force cipher clerk, he was in a position to seriously compromise NATO readiness secrets.
It was a stupid thing to do, and I did it. I got caught doing it by somebody that shouldn't have, or shouldn't have. I've gone through this rigmarole for over a year after we left Prague. I haven't heard from anybody since that time.
Most Americans are very naive, politically very naive. And so I think it's, in many cases, very easy for communist intelligence officers to get in touch with important Americans, to seduce them in one way or another, and later to blackmail them.
I was not contacted in Czechoslovakia until about a month or two before I ever left the country.
When you say contacted, you're contacted
by the Czechs.
By the Czech intelligence service.
Well, I don't know who they were. I'm just saying I was contacted.
Yeah.
You know, but I assumed that they had to be there.
What do you mean when you say contacted? What form did that contact take?
It was just a meeting on the street.
Of a man just walked up to you? And what did this man say?
Well, he indicated that they had had photographs of me, and, you know, that he would contact me at some future date.
Well, can you tell me, what did the Czech intelligence service ask you for or want you to do?
There was no discussion at all. It was just the fact they confronted me with the fact that they had pictures and photographs of me doing this homosexual act with the other individuals involved. That was the whole extent of it. There was nothing asked for or given.
When you say the fellow that was involved in the situation?
In
the photographs?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the other man with whom you were having this affair with.
Right.
And he defected, and as a result, that was how they found out about you. Right. And you were never asked for secret documents? There was just a man that came up to you in the street in Prague and said that we have photographs of you and we're going to ask you for something
at a later date.
At a later date.
And it was never indicated what they wanted or how often or how soon or whatever.
What kind of information could you have theoretically given them?
God knows. God knows.
In Moscow, the KGB targets not only low-ranking officials. Sometimes their blackmail extends right to the top. John Watkins was the Canadian ambassador to the Soviet Union in the late 50s when he was targeted for recruitment. Two KGB defectors, Nosenko and Golitsyn, have revealed that Watkins was under KGB control, but the story has never before received official confirmation. William Kelly is the former head of the RCMP Security Service.
They knew he was a homosexual. He knew that they knew he was a homosexual.
Well, are you saying that he was being blackmailed by them?
In a kind of a way, yes. That he knew that they could embarrass him if he didn't cooperate.
While in the Soviet Union, Lester B. Pearson, later to become Canadian Prime Minister, and John Watkins met with Khrushchev at his dacha on the Crimean Sea. The meetings were arranged by the Soviets to increase Watkins' prestige in Pearson's eyes and to speed his promotion to positions with access to sensitive information.
When you find that a man like Watkins, an ambassador, was a homosexual, and you knew the pressure that was being placed on homosexuals in Russia at that time, he was an obvious target for KGB, and he was surrounded by the KGB.
Watkins' handler was Anatoly Gorsky, alias Professor Nikitin, who had controlled the Soviet agents Philby, McLean, Burgess, and Blunt in Britain. Soon after Pearson's visit, Watkins was transferred back to Ottawa as Assistant Undersecretary of External Affairs. External Affairs chairs the committee that controls all of Canadian intelligence matters. He died of a heart attack on October 10, 1964, in Montreal, after being interrogated by the RCMP. For over 10 years, Tom Fox was head of U.S. military counterintelligence in charge of breaking major Soviet operations in America and Europe.
Well, the Soviets are like any good headhunting business organization that's looking for good talent. The Soviets will establish a relationship with the individuals, determine the individual's needs, desires, strengths, and weaknesses, and try to exploit that.
David Barnett was a former employee with the CIA whose business was facing bankruptcy. His solution was to approach the KGB. In exchange for money, he compromised several CIA operations and the lives of the agents involved. He was instructed by the Soviets to obtain positions with several congressional intelligence committees in order to pass on inside information. For his services, he received $92,000. But the Soviets used subtler methods for recruiting. At the time when he was a congressional assistant with access to U.S. naval readiness secrets, Jim Kappas was approached by a Soviet official offering him the opportunity to write articles for a leading Soviet press agency.
And I, as a staff member, had access to most of the classified materials that might have been presented to the committee from time to time.
How were the approaches first made?
Initially, it was strictly social. Later, of course, the meetings were arranged. They were arranged for just the two of us. They were arranged at primarily at bars.
What exactly did he suggest you should do in the beginning?
He suggested that I write articles for him, theoretically to be translated and published in the Novosti Press, which is a Soviet press service. Of course, later it became more obvious that the type of stories that he was seeking were those that were based on classified information or information that was not generally known to the public.
In attempting to recruit agents, the KGB also uses the services of the International Information Department, which controls TASS, Pravda, Izvestia, and the Novosti Press Agency. A man who is familiar with the procedures of recruitment is Yuri Bezminov, who served with Novosti in India before defecting to the West.
Because during my 12 years with Novosti, it was quite clear to me that about 70 to 80, it's hard to count, % of the Novosti employees are at the same time either full-time officers of the KGB or part-time co-opted agents like myself when I was working for the Novosti.
For Soviets like Yuri Bezminov or Carlo Tuomi, an illegal sent to America to recruit agents, the methods of recruitment are deceptively easy.
How do you recruit somebody? What do
you recruit them by establishing a friendship, but you don't recruit them as a Soviet spy. You're supposedly working for some corporation which is interested in the trade secrets of a competing corporation. Or maybe you're asking information on behalf of a friend who's writing a technical book.
Was this what you were told in Moscow, that you should not say that you're working for the Soviets, that you should work for a company or?
Right. You come out as a Soviet intelligence agent only when you recruit the person on ideological basis.
In the 1930s, no one was more successful in recruiting young Americans than Haida Massing. She recruited at the highest levels of government and discovered that the ideological approach worked best with the privileged in America.
It would be almost impossible to recruit the working class. Almost impossible.
Of America?
Yeah. But it would be easy to recruit the intellectual and middle class.
But what does the Communist Party have to offer the elite?
Great ideas. The freedom of all time. Marxism, a different economical system, thoughts, new medical experiments, the world. You see, the Soviet Union has never changed its goal, never. You know, its goal as a phrase it still wants to dominate the world. You know that. It has never changed that.